Welcome, Motenta people. Strange things happen in life when it involves a glamorous on-screen personality like Natalie Wood. Fans and family may continue to seek an explanation, even when the answers may never be found. This big-screen legend, who made a historic transition from child acting to an adult role play, is described as a silver screen icon of womanhood in transition. But the circumstances surrounding her tragic death shocked the Hollywood community, and the dust it raised has refused to settle several years after, amidst numerous romantic affairs. How Natalie Wood left Hollywood's biggest mystery behind. Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you're new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Motenta's channel. Natalie Wood is a fashionable lady who took the entertainment industry by storm, with her ambitious but modest style of presentation, scaling the natural barriers that successfully saw her grow from a child actor to a young adult big-screen personality. She is cherished not just for her creativity, but as one actress who was opportune to be part of some of the well-known films of all time. Co-starring with famous stars at the tender age of 8, she gradually advanced her career, gaining an Oscar nomination as a teenager. Analysts think that she achieved an exceptional fit that very few tend to in the industry, hence would liken her to the silver screen symbol of a woman in transition, as not too many actors were able to navigate the industry the way she did. Wood did not just act as a child. She was also getting the required media coverage as her stories became a selling point. She was christened the most exciting juvenile motion picture star of the year by Parents magazine when she was 9 years old. Almost everyone thinks that her unique display of talent in films was something fans cherished so much that she became 3 times Oscar nominee, even before she turned 25. The larger-than-life on-screen persona that she displayed is also a match for her simple but glamorous lifestyle off the screen. Young and highly talented, Wood did not quite enjoy the life she'd made for herself because of a tragic incident on the coast of California's Catalina Island that did not just end her promising career, but created more mystery than anyone could imagine, with too many questions begging for answers. Lots of stories have emerged from that ill-fated incident, with some concluding that it was a clear case of murder, even while the initial report from the authorities didn't say so. What happened? Who is involved? And why were so many loose ends left about the occurrence? The 3 persons that were with her within the hours before her death, including her husband, gave somewhat conflicting signals at the different stages of the investigation. Some persons have attributed it to the fact that Natalie Wood's mother was earlier informed of a fortune teller that her daughter would be great, but she should beware of dark water. Facts available did show that Wood was aboard a vessel identified as Splendor the preceding night, before the incident with her husband Robert Wagner and co-star Christopher Walken, who was alleged to have a romantic connection with her at the time. Also, boat captain Dennis Davern gave conflicting accounts at different points. Wood, who was just 43 years of age when her lifeless body was found, is one woman who lived a flamboyant lifestyle, the life she created for herself, the life she always wanted, with some describing her as one living the American dream, and was cut short, sadly, that fateful day. It became a Hollywood nightmare for fans. Natasha Zarenko, now known as Natalie Wood, was born in San Francisco to Natalie Zarenko and Maria Zadulova of Russian descent, and both parents immigrants. Wood began her acting career when she was just 4 years old. Her parents were said to have married 5 months before she was born, sometime in 1942. The young couple then settled at their residence in Santa Rosa, where Natalie was seen by a production crew member during film production. When she began appearing in films, David Lewis and William Goetz, identified as studio executives at RKO Radio Pictures, turned her last name to Wood for a reason best known to them. Some weeks leading to her 5th year, Wood appeared in a film that was not credited, titled Happy Land of 1943. Regardless of the 15-second scene that she appeared in the movie, she was said to have caught the attention of the director, Irving Pitchell, who kept contact until another opportunity came. Wood's mother was said to have been excited on learning that her daughter was needed for a screen test that she relocated the entire family to Los Angeles to reside, although Wood's father didn't quite approve of it. But Maria's desire was all over to make her daughter a star. It was even rumored that Pitchell then wanted to adopt her, according to her sister Lang. When she turned 7, Wood played the role of a post-World War II German orphan, opposite Orson Welles as her custodian, and Claudette Colbert in the film Tomorrow is Forever in 1946. A story was told of how her mother tore a butterfly to pieces in front of her, just to incite Wood to cry on cue, a part she was unable to do, although Welles acknowledged that Wood was innately skilled. During these early years as a minor actress, Wood was combining her primary education with studio work, as she was spending a mandatory 3 hours daily. California law requiring until age 18, child actors must use at least 3 hours per day for basic education activities. Wood also appeared in The Bride Wore Boots by Pitchell before heading to 20th Century Fox for a role as Gene Tierney's child in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir in 1947. She was also described as excellent in her school activities, especially in arithmetic, which was said to be her magic subject. In the words of director Joseph L. Mankiewicz, "In all my years in the business, I never met a smarter moppet," he said after working with her in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir's production. A year later, she co-starred in Miracle on 34th Street. This was also her most popular film as a child actor. Starring Maureen O'Hara, the movie, which has since become a Christmas classic, contributed to Wood being regarded as one of the top child stars in Hollywood. The movie was said to be highly successful. Wood subsequently became a name as a teenager, as she got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her outing in Rebel Without a Cause in 1955. Reflecting on her childhood experience combining her studio contract with academic activities, Wood was quoted as saying, "I always felt quite guilty when I knew the crew was sitting around waiting for me to finish my 3 hours." She added that she would run as fast as possible to join the crew once the teacher let them go. She also got wide attention when she appeared in John Ford's The Searchers in 1956, before starring in the musical films West Side Story in 1961 and That Gypsy in 1962. Wood got acknowledged again as a nominee for Best Actress for her role in Splendor in the Grass in 1961 and Love with the Proper Stranger in 1963. She didn't quite clinch the awards, but she continued relentlessly in her creativity and went on to act in films like Sex and the Single Girl in 1964 and Inside Daisy Clover in 1965, even as her success story continued. Around the 1970s, she paused her acting to take care of her private life. Wood had 2 children, one with Wagner and the other with her second husband, Richard Gregson, because she later remarried Robert Wagner the second time after divorcing Gregson. Her off-screen love life was not so rosy, as she got things going with several suitors. She had one with Nicholas Ray and co-star Dennis Hopper, including Elvis Presley, before meeting Wagner. Her first marriage to actor Robert Wagner got excessive media publicity in 1957 when she was 19. But they got separated in 1961 after a joint press briefing and officially divorced on the 27th of April, 1962. Thereafter, Wood was said to have dated Warren Beatty, Michael Caine, and David Niven Jr. at different times, including a failed engagement in 1965 with a Venezuelan shoe producer identified as Ladislav Blotnick before marrying British producer Richard Gregson, although the two appear to have dated for almost 3 years before then. The union produces a daughter, Natasha. Wood later went for a divorce that was finalized in 1972. She had a brief romance with to-be California Governor Jerry Brown before resuming another relationship with Wagner, her estranged husband. They got things going again and finally settled for the second time the same year and had a daughter, Courtney. After Wood co-starred with Christopher Walken in Brainstorm, which happens to be her last picture, the two became friends, which got some persons gossiping that they were having an affair. But what was the issue with Wood and her unexplained death? At the time, this gossiped relationship was an issue between Wood and her husband Wagner. It was a festive weekend in 1981. Natalie and Wagner had invited Walken to be part of their sailing trip within Catalina Island, even though some persons alleged that it was Wood who asked that Walken should join them on the trip, and that Wagner was surprised to see him there. What happened within the hours could not be correctly ascertained, but everyone learned that on the 28th of November 1981, Wood's lifeless body in a flannel nightgown was found by authorities floating a mile away from the vessel they used for the trip, and a little dinghy was seen stranded nearby. As narrated by the police, Wood went to bed first. Wagner stayed up chatting with Walken before deciding to join her, only to discover that she and the dinghy were missing. then the principal medical examiner in the LA County's coroner's office on the 30th of November, declared her death as an accidental drowning, even though an autopsy disclosed multiple bruises on her arms and a scratch on her left cheek, although explained as bruises probably sustained at the time of the sinking. The matter went dead, but not in the eye of the public, as some persons felt that something did not add up in that police report. Some of the questions raised were that Wood could not have left with just her nightgown if she indeed left unnoticed. Was it a case of the guilty being always afraid that made Davern the boat captain admit in 2011 that he did not say everything he knew about the incident initially? It heightened the curiosity of Wood's family and friends with more questions. Revealing more details, Davern said that the weekend was full of arguments about Wood's obvious flirtation with Walken, an argument he alleged had started the previous day and got heated the entire weekend, indicating that Robert Wagner was jealous of Christopher Walken. Wood, he said, spent hours with Walken at the bar in Catalina Island before Wagner arrived, looking furious. The four of them then went for dinner at Doug's Harbor Reef restaurant with bottles of wine and cocktails. The new revelations had forced investigators to reopen the case, especially with Walken admitting that he and Wagner had a brief misunderstanding, but that he thinks it is a result of the couple's extended film shoot-related absences from their kid. The staff of the bar where they dined said one of them broke glass but couldn't recall whether it was Wagner or Walken, until about 10 p.m., when they used the dinghy to return to the Splendor. Davern's initial statement suggested that the quarrel ended, but he now reverses the statement, saying that as they drank and returned on board, Wagner was fuming, and was said to have smashed a wine bottle on a table and yelled at Walken, "Are you trying to... my wife?" He added that Walken retreated to his cabin at this juncture, and that was the last I saw of him, he said. Wagner and Wood similarly returned to their chamber, but a loud shouting had erupted. It was learned that the quarrel continued on deck before everything went silent. Davern said he later observed that Wagner was alone and was told by Wagner that Natalie is missing, adding also that he asked him to search for her as the dinghy is missing too. The captain recalls that Wood was deathly afraid of water and wondered if she had taken the dinghy out without help. More so, Wagner didn't want the captain to put on the boat's floodlights, nor call for help to avoid unnecessary attention, he alleged, although he later did at 1:30 a.m. A witness, Marilyn Wayne, who was on a nearby boat that night, said she and her suitor heard a woman shouting, "Somebody please help me, I'm drowning," at about 11 p.m. Following the second investigation of the incident and the new findings, investigators declared that Wagner was accountable for Natalie Wood's demise, even as Wagner refused to respond to authorities, while Walken cooperated with investigators. And in 2018, a representative of the Los Angeles Sheriff established that Wood's case was a suspicious death and that Robert Wagner was formally named a person of interest. Wood's death certificate was also changed from accidental drowning to drowning and undetermined factors to reflect the newest development. With many of those who knew about the incident and those who investigated it now dead, it is unlikely that the real cause of her death will be revealed. Why friends and family members would hope on God to provide an answer to their too many questions about her tragic death. But why the questions are left unanswered. A school of thought is wondering if there was an aspect of Wood's lifestyle that could explain what may have contributed to her death, with many pointing to her several romantic affairs. Recall in 2013, an ex-FBI agent, Donald G. Wilson, declared that he and Wood executed a romantic affair between 1973 and 1977, which he alleged started when she was expectant of Courtney, and would make a documentary for the cable network Reels about it in 2016. Just as famous bodyguard Chris Herzog hinted that Wood confided in his granny that she would divorce Wagner and that he met her the day before she went missing. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. The life of a child star is always difficult. And how difficult is it to be the child of a star? Why Clint Eastwood never stopped making children. Let's find out from this video.